Now the Spirit of the Lord is the one that speaks through me. Before my mother's womb, He ordained and knew me, ransomed me, and placed His words upon my tongue. Few are chosen, rest assured that I am one, an ambassador for Christ, His beloved Son, and by His word, let souls be one. So welcome everyone to this listening party. Sit back and let your souls be hearty. Celebrate with me the gift that God has imparted. And what better way to get this party started than to give Him the stage, because He knows where your heart is. Holy Spirit, you are welcome in this place. Give me the boldness to look upon each face and speak every word that you've given me to say. With no fear, I speak truth. I won't deviate, and I'm confident that all will go great. So let your presence saturate this place. I breathe in your spirit, I intake a river full of life, water in every dry place. As I flow to the notes that heaven navigates, let it bless every listener and free them today. Let the truth of your word draw souls to be saved. Let the comforter comfort hearts today, and let the light of your word show them the way. Every time I write, I tell His story as I bask in the truth of His word before me. He opens up to me and shows me His glory. He gives me the strength to keep on soaring, and when I open up my mouth, for Him I'm roaring, and the Spirit of the Lord goes before me. To the captive set free, that's reassuring. Over the years He strengthened my inner core, and every day I wake up just seeking Him more. Am I ready for this? In my spirit I'm sure I am in Christ, and my Father I adore. He redeemed me from destruction, I am His ambassador. As the world turns and open up the door, I step in with purpose to win souls for the Lord. Every time I write, I tell a story as I bask in the truth of His word before me. Every time I write, I tell a story as I bask in the truth of His word before me. Every time I write, I tell a story as I bask in the truth of His word before me. Every time I write, I tell a story as I bask in the truth of His word before me. Every time I write, I tell the story as I bask in the truth of His word before me.
Hey, welcome to Tom the Bomb Sports Talk, the fastest growing show in the world. It's Monday, August 25th. Happy birthday, AJ. And this is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. If you don't think it's a great day, just try missing one. And we, LOVE, love sports and the Word of God on the Tom the Bomb Show. And yes, we are live on Facebook. Our contact number here is 301 655 9992, and you can catch us all the replays immediately after the live show on YouTube at Tom the Bomb Sports Talk. You can also contact us by email at info@tomthebombsports.com, and of course, you can always visit our website at www.tomthebombsports.com. That's www.tomthebombsports.com. Hey, gang, I'd like to personally thank you guys for your prayers and your support. We hear you loud and clear, and for everyone that have reached out wanting to contribute to the show and our ministry, we sincerely thank you. We sincerely thank you. With that, we appreciate your patronage, and you can bless us to keep creating content and spreading the word of God. Our business cash app here is hashtag $ Tom the Bomb Sports Talk. That's $ Tom the Bomb Sports Talk. We sincerely thank you, and may God bless you 100-fold return on the seed you sow into our ministry at the Tom the Bomb Show. Me and Dr. Lauren both appreciate it. As usual, we want to start off by thanking God for all the wonderful things that He's already done for us in 2025. Of course, our theme for 2025 is still living in the grace realm. Living in the grace realm. You guys, look, you got to get this. If you're missing the Friday night devotionals, man, you are really, really missing. So last Friday, we talked about praying for rest. It was powerful. You need to go back and check that one out. But our scripture for the whole year is found in 2 Corinthians 9:8. And the Passion Translation says, yes, like a command. God is more than ready to overwhelm you with every form of grace so that you will have more than enough of everything, every moment, and in every way. He will make you overflow with abundance in every good thing that you do. Amen. That's powerful, man. Listen, we got a poll question today. Okay, let's cover last week's poll question first. Last week's poll question was: should the NFL have male cheerleaders? And you guys, you guys overwhelmingly look. The overwhelming response. This is not Tom the Bomb being crude. The overwhelming response was, "Hell no." The Minnesota Vikings had introduced, like I say, new cheerleaders to their squad, and the Vikings fans pretty much kind of had the same same raw response. Okay, uh, hell no, no male cheerleaders. All right, so let's. We got today, and we got trivia question for you today. Look, uh, Tommy Fleetwood became the second PGA player to make his first win on the PGA Tour at the Tour Championship. Who was the first? Tommy Fleetwood became the second PGA player to make his first win on the PGA Tour at the Tour Championship. Who was the first player to make his first win at the Tour Championship? That's our trivia question for today. All righty, all righty. Hey, gang, Tom the Bomb didn't get to play any golf today, so we're going to at least talk some golf today. So let's jump right into the show. Okay, folks, listen. 2 weeks ago, our poll question was, will Tommy Fleetwood win on the PGA Tour? And my astute Tom the Bomb viewers overwhelmingly responded that Tommy Fleetwood was too good not to win eventually. And you guys and gals were absolutely correct, as Tommy Fleetwood won the 2025 Tour Championship at the FedEx Cup for his first PGA Tour title yesterday. Congratulations, Tommy Fleetwood. He's from England. He secured his first win after 164 PGA Tour events. Wow. Man, that's a long time, man. They only play I think they play 35 events a year. So if you divide 35 into 164, man, he went some years before he finally won. Uh, but hey, with this tour victory in the season finale, it's basically completing his story of near misses and earning him not only the FedEx Cup trophy, but also the largest official check in tour history at $10 million for the win. Say it with me, say it with me. Get your kids out playing golf. Get your kids out playing golf, man. Tommy Fleetwood's path to his first PGA Tour victory was defined by his consistency and his resilience, overcoming numerous near misses throughout his career. Tommy had Tommy had 6 second place finishes. He had 30 top 5 finishes. He had 44 top 10 finishes. And by the way, just so you're not feeling bad for Tommy, along the way, he earned $33 million. Let's say it again. Get your kids out playing golf. So he earned $33 million doing all of those near misses. Okay. I need to miss like that. Okay. Before cashing the $10 million check, he cashed yesterday. Okay. Now, he previously had the 54-hole lead 3 times this year, failing to close out tournaments. Fleetwood kept a positive attitude and believed in his ability to win. Tommy said, the guys who win are the ones who continually put themselves in position to win. And yesterday was Tommy's day, as he finally converted a 54-hole lead into his first PGA Tour victory at East Lake Golf Club in Atlanta, Georgia, closing with a 2 under par 68 to finish at 18 under par and won by 3 strokes over Patrick Cantlay and Russell Henley. Tommy Fleetwood's journey is what we on the Tom the Bomb Sports Talk Show likes to highlight. Okay, his perseverance in professional golf demonstrated that sustained high level performance leads to a breakthrough victory. His failures in the past prepared him for yesterday. After bogeying the 5th hole, Fleetwood responded with back to back birdies on the 6th and 7th hole to maintain his momentum. in golf, momentum is so important. Then another bogey on the 10th hole, hooking his tee shot into trouble. His resilience to gain control as he bounced back by firing darts to within 5 and 6 feet for back to back birdies again on the 12th and 13th hole to reestablish that 3 shot lead and he needed that cushion. I felt though his last big challenge came on hole number 15, a 218-yard par 3 shot. By the way, this hole was bringing all the pros to its knees. They had 11 balls in the water for the pros. So like I said, this big challenge was the 15th hole, 218-yard par 3 tee shot to a peninsula green, okay, kind of like the TPC 17th at Sawgrass, where Fleetwood had hit his ball in the water the previous day. So any golfer out there will tell you, oh man, I hit it in the water here yesterday. I gotta make sure I keep it dry today.
Golf
So
PTSD.
exactly. So even though he still bogeyed the 15th, he avoided the water and he didn't make a big number there, escaping with a 2 shot lead where he made 3 straight pars to get it across the finish line and secure the victory. On the biggest stage, Fleetwood showcased his ability and responded to the pressure, ultimately securing a well deserved first PGA Tour win. Congratulations to Tommy Fleetwood. And I say we, me and Dr. Long, we were rooting hard. We've been rooting for Tommy Fleetwood all year long. And that's like I said, he's been such a guy of character, and when he did what we like to consider choking. Yeah, he did some choking. He stood in front of the cameras. He took the questions. He took the darts. He handled it like a man. He handled it like a man, and because of that, I think everybody was kind of rooting for him, and it was really, really a feel good win story yesterday. Um, really good feel. Did you have something you wanted to say? Uh, Dr. Lawrence, yeah, we talk about on the Tom the Bomb Show all the time. How we win and lose in life really, really matters. And when you lose with integrity like that, we all know that Jack Nicklaus is is the goat in golf because he's got the 18 majors. But one of the things that all of the experts say about Jack Nicklaus was he was the greatest loser they ever met. He had 18 majors, but he finished second 19 times. Okay, man, that guy can have had over 40 majors. So like I said, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but how we win in life truly matters. And like I mentioned earlier, that's why we really like to highlight a guy like Tommy Fleetwood on the Tom the Bomb Show because, like I said, how we win and lose in life matters. Do you really want to win at all costs? There's sayings, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. No, 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 no. That's not how it's done. When you want to win, you want to play. And one of the things that I really, really like about golf is that you're really not playing the opponent, you're playing the golf course. You know, golf is one of the only sports where nobody's playing defense on you. Now, the pros would argue that 15th hole, 218-yard par 3 with the Peninsula Green, they would argue that was some defense, but your opponents aren't playing any defense. So you're going out to play the golf course. And I got a guy one of the guys that I play with, and sometimes we play teams, and he'll say, I don't want to play with you, Tommy. I was like, "Well, why not?" He said, because you be rooting for the people that we're playing against. And I'm like, I'm not hoping that they play bad. I'm hoping that I play better. Okay. And that's really, really what it's about. So last week, we talked about Scotty Scheffler, okay, and Scotty Scheffler, another guy we like to highlight because he does it the right way. Scotty Scheffler, that if he's making putts, he's unbeatable, according to Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods says Scotty Scheffler is unbeatable if he's making putts. Last week at the BMW Championship, Scotty Scheffler came back from a 5 shot deficit to win the BMW Championship. So being 4 shots down to Tommy Fleetwood going into the final round didn't seem like it was a lock or that it was impossible for Scheffler to come back because he's done that. He just done it last week. But Scheffler hit his opening tee shot out of bounds. Okay, but I watched him hit it. Dr. Lauren was watching with me, and I said, but he made what golfers call a really good bogey. Okay, because he hit the tee shot out of bounds. He came back and he stuck it and he made the putt and he walked up with a bogey on hole number one. But it was kind of a foreshadowing of the day, as Scotty's tee shots were a primary source of his difficulties in his final round. His driving was the fourth worst in the field of 30 players. So, 26 other players was hitting it off the tee better than him. And his costly miss on number one and his tee shot in the water on that tough par three, number 15th hole at 218-yard par three. That's he hit that in the water. That was his most damaging mistake of the day, because the double bogey that Scotty made on the 15th effectively ended his chances of winning. He missed a lot of makeable birdie putts, didn't he, Lori? He missed a lot of makeable birdie putts that he normally drains. And, one of the big improvements that Scotty Scheffler has made has been his putting. Last year, Scotty Scheffler was 123rd on the as a top putter on the PGA Tour. That's not that good. But this year, he went from 123rd to 22nd. So that's a huge improvement, going from 123 to 22. And that's why he's been lights out this year. He's been winning like almost every time he tees it up. But this week, well, at least on the final round, he just didn't make the putts. We saw Scotty Scheffler get flustered on the golf course, slamming golf clubs. Scotty doesn't do that. I haven't seen Scotty do anything like that since 2022, when close around to his rookie year. So that's just not Scotty slamming clubs. He later commented that he wasn't as sharp as he would have liked in the final round. Yeah, that was kind of obvious, Scotty. You kind of turned into Captain Obvious on that one. Okay. Now Patrick Cantlay was tied with Tommy Fleetwood for the lead entering the final round. He experienced a rough start like Scheffler that immediately put him behind the eight ball, bogey in the first hole, and then double bogey in the second hole with a four putt on the green, a four putt. Look, Tommy Bomb's a hacker, okay? I can hit the ball out of bounds. I can hit it in the water. I can hit it in the woods. I can duff it. And none of that stuff bothers me. But three putting is the 11th commandment. Thou shalt not three putt. Patrick Cantlay four putted on the second green. Okay. He narrowed the gap to one stroke on the 10th hole with a birdie, but was unable to maintain the pressure on Fleetwood, bogey in the next hole, the 11th. Both Cantlay and Scheffler had chances if they had brought their putters to the final round. So, and it's funny too, because Patrick Cantlay is one of the best putters on tour as well, man. For the coach, there's that old cliche: you drive for show and you putt for dough. That's so true, especially when it comes to the pros, because all the pros, they're pros. They can all hit it off the tee. They can all hit their iron shots. They all got good short games. But the putting is what separates winning and losing on Sunday. And it doesn't matter who you are. If you aren't making those putts, you don't make it to the winner's circle. Okay. And Tommy Fleetwood putted lights out all week for 4 days, not for 3.5 days like he's done in the past. He putted lights out for 4 days. Hey, let's talk about Keegan Bradley. We got to talk about Keegan Bradley, because Keegan Bradley has a huge decision to make as the 2024-25 captain of the U.S. Ryder Cup team coming up in September. As a matter of fact, I'm sure that the Ryder Cup is going to be September 26th through the 28th. That's always good. We haven't had a playing captain in the Ryder Cup since Arnold Palmer. That's how long ago we've had a playing captain. Well, Keegan, he's earned his way onto this team with his play in 2025, and his play in the tour-ending FedEx Cup at East Lake. He beat most of the field of the top 30 players on tour. So he's definitely qualified as a player. But the question is, should he play? Should he play and be the captain? Should he just be the captain? Should he just play? First of all, it was a mistake for them to name him captain. Okay. Now, the PGA of America, they did this because they hosed him. They snubbed him in 2023 when he should have made the Ryder Cup team on points. Okay. The first six spots, there's 12 men on the Ryder Cup team. The first six players automatically qualify by points. Okay. And then the captain gets to pick the next six players. But the first six players qualify by points. Well, you have a guy that's seventh. You have a guy that's eighth, you have a guy that's ninth, you have a guy that's 10th, you have a guy 11th, and you have a guy that's 12th that's next in the points. So it's real easy to say, well, why don't we just pick, we pick the top six in points. Why don't we take 7, 8, 9, 10, 11? Well, Keegan Bradley should have been on that team in 2023. But, like anything, politics comes into play, and they like to pick guys like Jordan Spieth, who was on the team in 2023, and I'm a big Jordan Spieth fan, but Jordan Spieth's golf game hasn't been really good enough to be on the Ryder Cup team. So, they're like Ricky Fowler, another guy that we really, really like. They're picking Ricky Fowler to be on the Ryder Cup team, but his game didn't warrant him to be on the team. So they hosed Keegan Bradley in 2023. So to make it up, they turned around and here's the thing too. Keegan Bradley know he got hosed. He know he got snubbed. And when they call him to tell him that he didn't make the team, he was very diplomatic. He played the game. He said the right things. He made the right response. And they was like, we're really happy that you didn't make us think about this, Keegan. And in return, what they did is they turned around and named him captain in 2024 for the 2025. But like I said, he should have made the team on points. And like I said, to make up for that, they named him captain. Okay, so here's the thing. The sacrificial lamb, Rory McIlroy says that he shouldn't do it. He said it's a huge mistake with too much responsibility as the captain and actually playing. And I actually agree with the sacrificial lamb. I agree with Rory McIlroy. I think Keegan should play, but I think he should turn over the captaincy over to someone else. The Ryder Cup has changed too much since Arnold Palmer took on both roles. Back then, the European team wasn't really a match for the Americans. But for the last 20 years, the US hasn't been a match for the European team. The Europeans own the US in the Ryder Cup. And the role and the responsibilities of the captains have grown and taken on so much more than what Arnold Palmer ever had to deal with the media and the traveling and just all the interviews and the picking of the pairs and all. The captain has so much on him that like I said, I agree with Rory. I just think it's too much for him to be the player and the captain. But here's the thing: if you're good enough to play, then you don't coach. Why am I going to coach if I can still play? Okay, if you're good enough to play, then don't coach. And Keegan is definitely good enough to play. It's one of the reasons that the captains are usually older golfers past their prime. So, like I said, the PGA of America, the U.S. Ryder Cup Committee, snubbed Bradley in 2033, and they didn't think, to kind of like a double whammy smack by naming him captain in 2024, they didn't think he was good enough to make the team in 2025. So they named him captain in 2024, thinking he wouldn't earn enough points to make the team. But when Bradley made the President's Club Cup in 2024, it was a warning that this dilemma was coming. Okay. So if he decides to play and be the captain, that's a real alpha dog move. Okay, I'm just want to tell you that's a real alpha dog move. I always thought that Tiger Woods would be the next playing captain on the Ryder Cup, and let me tell you, no one thought it would be Keegan Bradley. Nobody thought that. Okay, but here's the thing: the bottom line is that this decision is Keegan Bradley's and Keegan Bradley's alone. Okay, if he loses on American soil, and the Ryder Cup is going to be played in Bethpage in New York, if he loses on American soil as the captain, it's bad. It's bad to lose as the playing captain, especially on your own turf. If he loses as a playing captain and he plays poorly, that's a major disaster. That's a that's a that's a triple whammy. That's not a double whammy. That's a triple whammy. But but not so fast, my friend. But what if he wins on American soil as a playing captain and he plays well? Oh, man, he'll be the all-time Ryder Cup hero legend forever, forever. So, like I said, that's a real alpha dog move, man. So, Like Keegan said, he's got one of the biggest decisions he's ever going to have to make. One bit of advice that I would give to Keegan is that you can't please everybody, can't please everyone. Make sure you're happy with the choice you make because you're going to live with it forever. So play, don't play, play as the captain, not play as the captain. It's your decision. But like I said, if you're good enough to play, then you don't need to coach. So I would, I would, I would, if I was Keegan, I would play and turn the captaincy over to somebody else, or he can go for that alpha dog move and go ahead and play. And if he plays well and they win, he's the man forever. It's like an unofficial major. Okay. Hey, look, let's take a commercial break, and then we're going to be back with 5 good country minutes with Mr. Felix Bassey.
Window Nation is on the Morgan's home turf to huddle up about replacing their drafty old windows.
This free estimate is showing how easy it is to tackle the problem.
We can get any of these windows custom made.
Yes, you can get the quality and style you really want.
And at a more affordable price than they ever imagined.
Now that they've sealed the deal, they'll be saving money year-round.
We're really confident with Window Nation.
Get your free estimate today and get 60% off all windows plus no interest or payments for 24 months at getwindownation.com.
Sheltered by the Sea of Cortez, Danzante Bay is a pure and peaceful oasis, an uncrowded retreat where your options are as vast as your views. If you're seeking a vacation that defines luxury and the true relaxation, look no further than Villa del Palmar at the islands of Loreto. A splendor of true Mexican hospitality effortlessly blends with rich materials and insatiable comforts to bring guests the ideal home away from home experience. With its quiet beaches, scenic vistas, rich history, and an astounding surrounding natural habitat, you'll feel as though you've been swept off to paradise. Not to be outdone, Reese Jones has crafted TPC Danzante Bay, a brilliant, multi-themed 18-hole golf course that runs over and through valleys, arroyos, dunes, and foothills. From every angle, striking images of the islands of Loreto and the surrounding mountain range take your breath away, while the challenging yet rewarding Baja Golf Course beckons you to return for more. It is an honor and my pleasure to welcome you to the world's most beautiful sunset and so much more.
And we're back. Okay. So hey, let's jump right into it. We'll get Felix when he gets here. Man, nothing like a live show. You never know what's gonna happen, right? Okay, so hey, let's talk about Shadur Sanders because the big talk is that a lot of people feeling like that Shadur was sabotaged by Cleveland's coach Kevin Stefanski. First of all, let me just say Kevin Stefanski said that, hey man, look, I'm committed to Sanders' development and all of our rookies. And Tom the Bomb doesn't necessarily I don't believe that. I don't believe they're sabotaging him. I think what they're doing is they're treating him like a fifth round draft pick. That's what I think. And here's the thing, and this is true for all NFL teams. You got your starter, and then after your starting quarterback, you don't want the second string, the third string, and God forbid, the fifth string to be what the media is circling you about. They don't want that. The second string, the third string, and I don't even there's never even been a fifth string quarterback in the NFL. Okay, so it's just because they don't carry you only carry 3 quarterbacks. So you got your first string, and then the second string, your third string quarterback. You don't want to hear nothing from them. We don't. They carry the boards. Okay, that's what they do. If the starter gets hurt, then he plays. So you don't want a Shador Sanders who the media is coming in and asking you about every single day, and he's the third string quarterback. Okay, so that's what it is now. So basically, what they're doing is they're really just treating him like a fifth a fifth round draft choice who actually today he made the team. Okay, a lot of fifth a lot of fifth round draft choices don't make the team, but when he comes out and plays, the guys that he's playing with, they're also the same level where he got drafted. So, like everybody, like, especially like Dr. Lauren pointed out, when he got sacked 5 times, the guys weren't blocking for him. Well, those are the guys that he got drafted with in the fifth round. Okay, now the one thing that I kind of had a problem with was when they didn't let him come back in for the 2 minute drill and they brought in Huntley because Huntley's not going to make the team. He's not going to make the team. So why give those 2 minutes to him? Give Shador those 2 minutes and see if he can make something happen. So there's a lot of politicking going on. The whole big deal is we know that the NFL colluded and said, look, uh, literally, I heard people today on the sports talk saying that they had Eric Dickerson was one, but I had another one saying that they had heard from really credible sources that the owners were telling their teams, do not draft Shador Sanders. And it was all just to get back at Deion Sanders. And here's the thing: nobody feels nobody feels worse than Deion Sanders. Okay. As a father, if you want to do something for me, you do it for my son. If you want to get at me, that's the way to go. And that's what they did. And Deion realized, that his sayings hurt his son. And that's why nobody feels worse than Deion Sanders right now concerning Shador. Okay. His talent is there, man. Everybody can see that he can play. But one of the things they've been talking about today on the sports talk shows is they don't even believe that Shador is gonna, unless someone gets caught. In that first preseason game that Shador played, and he was spectacular, and everybody was like, "Whoa, that's what the guy had done all year. He's showing you that he can play. He's crazy accurate, and that's one of the top uh, features of an NFL quarterback is being accurate. So hold on, I think we got Felix. Felix, you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, yeah, he's one of the top accurate quarterbacks. So, like I said, I don't believe that Kevin Stefanski is purposely out to sabotage Shador Sanders. I just think they're treating him like a fifth rounder. Felix, I was just talking about how the backup quarterbacks that NFL teams want them to kind of be under the radar and quiet. What's your take on the that people feel like that Shador was sabotaged in that last preseason game? What's your take on that, Felix?
I wouldn't go as far as saying it was sabotage. Now, there was this one play. I will say this: people are going to overanalyze him for this, especially people who don't wish him the best. He was scrambling awkwardly, and he did take a big loss, but that happened. Some of the most skilled quarterbacks in the NFL make the same mistake. You saw Joe Burrow make that mistake against Washington last week. So, in my opinion, I don't think I agree with you. He's not being sabotaged. I think it's all going to pan out for him. But at the same time, I think when you have Shador making small mistakes, as you saw in this past weekend's game, they're going to be bad actors trying to spin a narrative out of it.
Mhm. Yeah. Uh, Felix, I just want to say this. Shame on the New Orleans Saints for not taking Shador Sanders. They took Tyler Shaw and they're starting Spencer Rattler. Uh, there's no way you can explain taking Tyler Salk and starting Spencer Rattler in New Orleans when everyone, all the draft experts was saying, well, Mel Kiper Jr. had Shedeur Sanders as the number one quarterback, not Cam Ward, but everybody else had him at least as the number two quarterback in the draft. And then he falls to 144th in the fifth round. I mean, shame on the New Orleans Saints, man. I hope they have a terrible season at quarterback. I really do, because that's just crazy that you can justify taking Tyler Shaw. I mean, and don't get it twisted. Dylan Gabriel's a good player, but Dylan Gabriel shouldn't have been drafted before Shedeur Sanders as well. What's your thoughts on that, Felix?
Quite bluntly, to every team that doesn't have a quarterback that passed over Shador Sanders, quite bluntly, I think it's already been said. All I have to say is this: their mistake, their problem.
You're a funny guy, man. Hey, I got another take for you here. Hall of Famer quarterback Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner said, I'm quoting Kurt Warner. He said he was looking forward to the competition battle between Dylan Gabriel and Shadur Sanders in the last preseason game, but both didn't have the same opportunity to make plays. Dylan Gabriel played well again, but he had good opportunities to make plays. Shadur Sanders didn't have those same opportunities, so it's really hard to make much of an assessment on Shadur Sanders. What's your thoughts on what Kurt Warner said?
I'll say this. That's actually a very solid point, and I think that's what a lot of people miss out in the analysis of preseason performances. They don't look at how many reps the person had, what
Mhm.
point in the game are they getting reps, and also that point of the game part's probably most important. Are they getting these reps against backups or against starters? So that's a very astute observation, and I actually liked what he said. That's a point I think more people need to look at.
Well, Nat Wood says that that Huntley is a better quarterback than most people think. That he thinks it's even politics with Huntley. We'll see. Well, like I said, like you said, I really don't think that the Browns have sabotaged him. I just think they're treating him like a fifth rounder, and then they don't want the spotlight to be on him. But without a doubt, no doubt in my mind that the NFL colluded against Shadur Sanders to get back at Deion Sanders' dad. And hey, yeah, Stevie Wonder and Ray Charles told me that. You know, that was easy. Okay, Felix, we're now officially 10 days from the start of the NFL season, and I can't tell you what I'm feeling because not at least not on air. Let's start off with NFL breaking news. Terry McLaurin and your Commanders reach a 3-year deal worth up to $96 million with a $30 million signing bonus. This absolute had to happen. I know you're just busting at the seams. Tell us about this, Felix. Hold on. Hold on. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
And first off, I just want to say this goes without saying. This is a great relief for Commanders fans because we're looking at that preseason, and the fact of the matter is, we're looking to see if our receiving core is strong enough to carry Jane Daniels' talent, and it just was not looking good. So having him back there and just his presence just opens up defenses, it opens up the other receivers, it opens up the offense. So it's good to know that he's going to be on the team. It's good to know that he signed a long-term deal, and like I said, I had a feeling that this was going to be resolved sometime or another. But the fact that it was getting delayed more and more, and I'm getting false lead after false lead left and right from insiders.
Mhm.
But once again, it cannot be understated that this is a great relief. And the Commanders, they're going to go in the direction that they're supposed to now that we have McLaurin as a confirmed member of the roster.
And according to you, that's straight up, correct?
Right. Indeed.
Hey, listen, Felix, this kind of fell through the cracks. I actually wanted to talk to you about this last week. Um, when we were talking about the preseason game between the Ravens and the Commanders that first drive, and we were excited about the rookie running back and that how the Commanders had Brian Robinson Jr. on the trading blocks. And back then I was when I heard that because that kind of shocked me. I didn't realize that until I actually watched that preseason game. But when they said Brian Robinson Jr. is probably going to be on the trading blocks, I immediately thought in my mind, boy, the 49ers would be a great place for him to end up. And then I look up and he's traded to the 49ers. Man, I love this move for the 49ers. They get Brian Robinson Jr. for a 6th-round draft choice next week. Now, of course, he's going to be backing up Christian McCaffrey, but Christian McCaffrey gets hurt a lot. And they got another running back. I can't think of his name, but he's faster than Brian Robinson Jr. But in that offense that the 49ers run, man, I think this is the perfect place for Brian Robinson Jr. And then secondly, another breaking news today is that Joe Mixon of the Houston Texans didn't make the list. So he's not going to play until possibly week 4 or 7. He can't play because they kept him on pup list. But I think this didn't surprise the Houston Texans. They knew that Mixon wasn't going to be ready. Why would they let a guy like Brian Robinson Jr. fall through the cracks when they knew Mixon wasn't coming back? What's your take on that, Felix?
That's a solid question. Now, I will say this. Joe Mixon and Brian Robinson, they've been in the NFL for a while. I'll say Mixon's case, he's definitely been far in the NFL far longer. And the only reason I bring that up, the running back position, usually they don't stay in the NFL too long. I mean, but so I'm guessing they're looking probably towards acquiring. So they have Mixon for the veteran. They're probably looking at younger running backs. They probably don't want to have two veterans of a certain amount of experience because it might not seem like it. But Brian Robinson, this is going to be his fourth season in the NFL.
Well, I'm going to cut you off. The Houston Texans do have Chubb. They picked up Chubb from the Cleveland Browns.
Right, and that furthers the point. So they have two. Thank you for mentioning that. Actually, because that means that they have two veteran running backs, which is a solid thing. It's a good thing, but at the same time, it'll kind of be a lateral move to get Robinson on top of that, especially at that position. So they're probably thinking, we're probably going to draft, maybe if we can trade for someone that's fresher at that position. So that's just my take on it.
I think Brian Robinson Jr. is a starter in the NFL. I really do. And so to give up a 6-round pick from it, man, that's like, there's something going on between the Commanders and the 49ers in the front offices being able to make trades back and forth. There's obviously a comfort level between those two franchises, sending Debo to Washington, sending Brian Robinson to San Francisco. There's a comfort level there. They're working close together there. They obviously the Commanders' new GM still has a real comfort zone with the 49ers. Look, of course, there's other holdouts remaining. Trey Hendrickson says he will not play under his current contract. And my understanding, Felix, is they have the numbers, they have the years. Their problem is they can't agree on what the guaranteed money is going to be. I think Trey Hendrickson wants 4 years, and they don't want to give him 4 years. They're probably listen. We talked last week, and we said that we both felt like that the Cincinnati Bengals were a playoff team. They are not a playoff team without Trey Hendrickson. They are not, because this offense, this defense. I know it's just a preseason, but this defense didn't look good to me. What's your take with the Trey Hendrickson deal with Cincinnati?
Well, I'll say this. This is probably going to be a unique take, but I'd say in the case of the Cincinnati Bengals, perhaps they could bolster their entire secondary and perhaps they can somehow get some sort of cap credit by making some sort of transaction and just acquiring a stronger secondary, some defensive backs, because their biggest problem, from what I observed, it's their pass defense. And the thing is, I know what we usually say, the fundamental of the defense is the pass rush. And Trey Hendrickson, one of the premier pass rushers in the NFL, some argue the best pass rusher in the NFL today. But at the same time, when looking at that defense, even though he's there, they're still struggling. And the thing is, a large chunk of that team's salary money goes to Hendrickson. So they're probably thinking, we don't want to do this. But at the same time, we have to think on the larger scale at the team level. If he's not going to take a certain amount of money for us to use around the different positions, we may have to just withhold the money and use it elsewhere. So I can actually see a case in which the Bengals let go of Hendrickson, and it could end up being a smart move.
Well, that leads us right into, of course, Micah Parson and the Cowgirls, or should I say, Jerry Jones. They're still at an impasse, and they're 10 days away from the Super Bowl champ Philadelphia Eagles. And I am so looking forward to the Eagles opening up a can and putting a butt whooping on the Cowgirls. Listen, this story just keeps getting more and more and more bizarre. Uh, you know, Jerry Jones has been interviewed with Stephen A. Smith, and he's talking about how he came to terms with Micah Parsons, and they agreed on everything. And then Micah says, "Okay, all right, let's just run this past my agent." And Jerry Jones is refusing to speak with Micah Parsons' agent, who's one of the top agents in the NFL. What's your take on this fiasco?
I would say this with the Dallas Cowboys. The difference is Micah Parsons in that front line, that front seven, they're able to generate pressure. Now the Cowboys, and I'm saying this firsthand experience, Commanders fan, we want to keep a close eye on the Cowboys. We play them twice a year. The Cowboys have a solid pass rush, and letting go of Micah Parsons, that would actually be a big blow to them. So honestly speaking, you're talking about a far more controversial situation coming out of Dallas, and in reality, they have a number of different moves to make with management. They have a number of different adjustments to make and fast. And the thing with Dallas, they're a team like Cincinnati. They have the right players in the right places, but it's just a matter of execution, taking it to the next gear.
Kicking the can down the
And
road.
I'm sorry.
I'll say Jerry's famous for kicking the can down the road.
Exactly.
So, I don't think they're going to pay him, and because he's still got 2 years left. And here's the thing: Jerry Jones and the Cowboys have all the leverage here because if Micah doesn't pay, he's set to make between 21 and 23 million dollars this year. And Micah Parsons' paycheck comes out to $1.3 million per game. So every game that he misses, he's losing $1 million that he's never going to be able to get back. So I think they're going to force him to play, and then after that, they can franchise him. So they really don't have to pay Micah Parsons for the next 3 years, and he's going to be a very disgruntled employee if that happens. What's your take on that?
Right. And it goes back to it really all I'll say is this. It goes back to the whole situation in which you said i- in which we've been monitoring with with him, Micah Parsons. And the fact of the matter is, Micah Parsons, this isn't the first time that his future with Dallas was in question.
Mhm.
People were wondering if he could be traded for, and this is a conversation people have been having for a year, if not more than a year. So I would say, unlike McLaurin's situation, even Dallas Cowboy fans, they're saying they're not sure if he's still going to be on the roster, even if they think in the long term they want him there. So I'll say this: it's left to be seen. But whatever happens in that situation, I wouldn't be shocked. I'll just leave it there.
Well, this is definitely getting personal, and I think these two sides really, really don't like each other. All right, let's move on, and I really don't like spending a whole lot of time talking about the Cowgirls and specifically Jerry Jones. So let me just throw a little curve in here before we get to the next segment. Felix, I was looking at something, and since Andy Reid has came to the Kansas City Chiefs from the Philadelphia Eagles in 2023, his record in Kansas City is 161 and 62. He's been to 5 Super Bowls and he's won 3 Super Bowl rings. And his vision, his offensive genius, and his quarterback whispering reputation is what made drafting and developing a Patrick Mahomes possible. Andy Reid is the architect of everything that the Chiefs are today. And Andy Reid is the best decision the Kansas City Chiefs franchise has ever made. He's the reason Mother Wig's golden era is existing in Kansas City. And he simply transformed that franchise. What's your take on Andy Reid?
Andy Reid, definitely an all-time coach, all-time great coach. Just aside from his time in Kansas City, which speaks for itself, essentially not just revitalizing the Kansas City Chiefs franchise, but giving them their best run that they've ever had, taking them to the high level of status
5 Super
in the last
Bowls.
decade. Right after, mind you, this is right after the Chiefs were what, 2-14, 2014, 2012.
Exactly.
He took the Chiefs right to the top, and they've never looked back since.
Mhm.
They've been one of the better teams in the NFL since I was in high school because of Andy Reid. And even if you look at his time in Philadelphia, he took the Eagles to consecutive NFC championship games. So
Mhm.
I think again, his record kind of just speaks for itself. And you just look at beyond records, beyond championships, beyond accolades, the fact that he has consistency. Even before Mahomes, this was a thing. So definitely, once, like I said, all-time great coach.
All righty, let's throw a little baseball in here, Felix. Listen, the Big Dumper. I just love that name. The Big Dumper, Cal Raleigh, breaks the major league record for home runs by a primary catcher as he hits his 48th and 49th home run yesterday, passing Salvador Perez, who hit 48 in 2021 with the Kansas City Royals. He's on pace for 60 dingers, and he's now hit more home runs. I think he's the third, because he's a switch hitter, and he's hit more home runs than. Uh, there's only two other switch hitters that have hit more home runs than Cal the Big Dumper Riley. What's your take on the Big Dumper, man?
I first off have to say one of the best players in the MLB today, and I'd say congratulations to him. And he broke the record for most home runs by a catcher. So again, I think honestly speaking, we're just seeing the beginning of it, and
I agree.
I'm hoping to see more of this out of him. And like we've been saying, this is definitely going to. I'm definitely hoping that his team's able to build around it because I've seen it. I've seen some things that his team has been doing, and I think we practically just covered base on it. Once again, his record kind of speaks for itself in a way.
Yeah, he's been impressive, and you know, I think he's a legitimate candidate for what's MVP in the American League. What's your thoughts on that? I think he's the leading candidate for MVP in the AL, especially with the Judge being hurt for a little while. What's your take?
He's definitely winning some award. I'll say that. When it comes to time to be given the awards, he's definitely getting something, and for sure, he's going to be one of the like you said, one of the top candidates for the MLB, excuse rather the American League MVP award.
Hey, Felix, Dr. Lauren has a question, so you know that's going to be a good question, right?
Okay.
Dr. Lauren wants to know, do you feel that Cal Riley, the big dumper, has permanently changed the catching position? I'll let you go first.
I would say that's actually a great question.
Well, I said it was from Dr. Lauren, so we knew it was going to be a good question, right? It ain't like Tom the Bomb thought of it.
I would I would say possibly there's a good chance because there's a certain expectation that comes with catchers in the
Mhm,
MLB.
mhm,
Their duty is somewhat different from that of other players.
mhm,
So the fact that he had so many home runs and they have fewer at bats because if there are two outs and the catcher's up next, of course, they have to get out early so they can put their gear on.
mhm,
So the fact that he was still, aside from that, still able to get all those home runs, yes, I do think there's a chance he could change the expectation for MLB catchers. But that's only if all teams start copying or see the influence or
mhm,
see the value and they try to mirror that in a similar way that Steph Curry changed the way basketball is played. So it really depends on how other teams react to him. But
mhm.
by himself, his success speaks for itself.
All right, let Tom the Bomb put his cap on because baseball. This is my thing. Dr. Lauren, the answer to your question is absolutely not. No way. Um, Cal Cal Riley, the big dumper, is a unicorn. Uh, uh, Cal Riley is Charles Zuber Jr., a 100-year-old black man. That still lives by himself and drives. That's like, are you kidding me? He's still living by himself and he's still driving. That's what the big dumper is. Your catcher is not hitting 40 anything home runs. This guy is an absolute unicorn because the catcher position is truly a defensive position. And I'll give you case in point. My St. Louis Cardinals, they got a catcher who's a great hitter and has the possibility of hitting 40 home runs, but he can't catch. and he can't throw anybody out. So they can't put him at the catching position because he can't catch. So they're playing him at DH, okay, and first base, and they're even putting him in the outfield. Your catcher primarily is a defensive position. He's got to be able to handle the pitchers. He's got to be able to keep base runners in bay, like the way Yadi Molina. Yadi Molina was such a Hall of Fame MVP catcher that the teams wouldn't even try to steal against the St. Louis Cardinals. The MLB average for throwing base runners out was under 30%. In Yadi Molina's whole career, his percentage for throwing baseball runners out was over 45%. So people just didn't even run on Yadi. So the catcher position, the catcher is really the quarterback. The way the quarterback is in football, that's who the catcher is on the baseball field. He's the quarterback. So he runs everything. He's literally the coach on the field. So that's the catcher's number one duty. And if he can hit 300 and hit 25 or 30 home runs, that makes him a Hall of Famer. To hit 48 and Cal's on pace to hit 60 home runs. Cal Riley is Charles Zuber Jr. That's who Cal Riley is. You just not gonna see that every day. So to answer your question, will he permanently change the position? No, no. A big dumper comes along once, and come on, he's actually had most home runs of any. Think about this: any catcher in the history of baseball. You got Yogi Berra, you got Johnny Bench, you got Salvador Perez, you got Manny Sanguillen, you got all of these great historic catchers, and none of them even come close to what Cal is doing. Cal's going to hit 60 home runs. No catcher has ever hit 50 home runs. So, no, he's not going to change the position because you just got lightning in a bottle when you get a guy that can actually catch, play defense, run the team, handle the pitchers, and hit for. And he's not just hitting home runs, Felix. He's hitting for average. And the more I think about it and the more I talk about it, he's a runaway MVP candidate for the American League. So to answer your question, great question. But yeah, no, he will not permanently stand. That's a good question, Dr. Owen. All righty. You know, that now you up my alley talking baseball. Talking baseball. That's right up my alley. Let's get to our last point of the game. Felix, America's team, The Gambler and His Cowboys. Netflix has an 8-episode series on Jerry Jones and the Cowgirls. Now, you guys know Tom the Bomb is not a cowboy lover. You know that. But listen, objectively, and I started watching this and I was thinking, oh, let me just say this up top. Felix, let me just say this up top. Whenever I hear or think or hear Jerry Jones, I think Donald Trump. Is that just me? is, is that just, I mean, are they like brothers that was like separated at birth or something? I, whenever I think Jerry Jones, I think Donald Trump. But is that just me out there, guys? But anyway, so it's not like I was even like, well, you know, I'm going to watch about the cover. I kind of started watching it almost reluctantly, Felix. But the reason we're talking about it on the show is it's a really good documentary. It's really really good. It's very very informative, and to my shocking surprise, Jerry Jones was very transparent and forthcoming. And it's broken down into 8 segments, and we're not gonna Charles Reeves the whole thing, but the first segment is called the Saturday Night Massacre, and that's basically about them when he bought the team and he took over and he had to fire Tom Landry because Tom Landry was like God in Dallas. I mean, he was Tom Landry was man. Tom Landry was it in Dallas, and he, you know, once he bought the team, the first thing he did is he fired Tom Landry. And I remember when this happened. I actually lived through this. Oh yeah, I did. I remember my big brother Nate telling me that Tom Landry had dropped the axe on so many people's head that at some point it had to drop on his. And then I thought, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. At some point, it had to happen. But one of the things that was interesting that comes out in this segment of the documentary is that Tom Landry was actually starting to and now, and because there's no proof, but listening to what the players were saying, some of the things that they were describing, it was almost like Tom Landry was starting to have dementia because some of the players were saying he couldn't remember our names and he couldn't remember the plays. You know, for Tom Landry not to be able to remember the plays because Tom Landry was such a technician. He was such a Felix type guy with the numbers. You know, yeah. So that was the first. Felix, did you happen to catch any of this at all?
Not yet, but now I'm going to.
Oh yeah, and that's the reason we're talking about it because I know how much of a Washington fan you are, but it's absolutely worth watching because you know, I thought it was going to be kind of like the Last Dance type of thing where everything was going to be slanted toward Michael Jordan's perspective and point of view, and Jerry didn't do this. You know, he let all the people come on and he let all of them kind of truly speak their mind. And that's why I'm telling you guys, it's definitely worth watching. Episode 2 is called Acomania, which is where the Dallas drafts Troy Aikman with the #1 draft choice. And then in that segment, they talk about they traded Herschel Walker and how that trade of Herschel Walker set up the team for the future with the draft picks. And Emmitt Smith came in from that trade. And what is he? Just the all-time leading rusher, all-time in the history of the NFL. So that trading of Herschel Walker set the Cowboys up for the next 10 years. Okay. Episode 3 is called How About Them Cowboys? We just love them. How about them Cowboys and them knocking off my 49ers in the NFC Championship game? Because for about 3 or 4 years there, the Super Bowl every year was the NFC Championship game with the Cowboys against the 49ers. And I'm going to tell you, man, that Dallas team, when they won back-to-back Super Bowls, that team was so good. They were so deep. And I'm not kidding you this. Their second string players were the best players in the NFL. Their second string players were the best offense and defensive lines in the NFL. It's like, how are they going to lose? Forget about the first team. That's why I love Emmitt Smith. Emmitt Smith was a good running back. But I'm telling you, man, that line of scrimmage that he ran behind in Dallas was something. Episode 4, Felix, is called Back to Back, which is the Super Bowl wins. Then Jerry hates the credit that Jimmy Johnson was receiving and basically ruined the Cowboys as we know them to be today. Because that really was, one of the questions that we get asked all the time, which I agree is, where would Dallas be if Jerry Jones had never fired Jimmy Johnson? And don't and they both said it was a mutually agreement. If you watch the documentary, they'll say they mutually agreed. But Jerry, it's one of those deals where and if you've ever been fired professionally, they tell you you can resign or fire you. So you resign, just so you don't have the fact that you've been fired on your record. But make no mistake about it, Jerry Jones fired Jimmy Johnson. But in the documentary, Jimmy Johnson talks about how he would not have been happy in Dallas. So episode 5 is called The Shootout at Valley Ranch, which is where Jerry forces Jimmy out and brings in Barry Switzer, and the fall of what should have been a dynasty abruptly comes to an end. And this one was very interesting, Felix, because they talked about, they said, well, all this has been boiling up since 1992, and it really kicked off when after they had won the second Super Bowl, and Jimmy Johnson and all his coaches were somewhere celebrating, and Jerry Jones comes in, and Jerry Jones raises a glass to toast, and all the coaches